Hey there, welcome to Be Unmessable with the podcast. I'm Josselyne Herman-Saccio, your host, and today's turbo tip is about disappointment. Now, disappointment is something that impacts us all. If you look for yourself, you've probably been disappointed at least once today, and that's being generous, right? But it's one of those emotions that can completely mess with us, that can completely derail us if we're not careful. It's heavy, it's sticky, and it often leads to frustration and blame and even self doubt. But what if I told you that disappointment is not a destination? It's a signal. It's a stop along the way, but it's not where you have to stay and hang out. So today we're going to explore how to shift your relationship with disappointment so it becomes a tool for creation rather than a trap for reaction. So let's start with the idea that disappointment tells us that there's a gap between our expectations and reality. I mean, that kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's like if I'm disappointed, I thought X was going to happen and Y happened instead. So there's a gap between X and Y. So, for example, let's say you planned a big dinner party and half your guests canceled at the last minute. Or maybe you worked hard on a project at work and your boss didn't even acknowledge any of the hard work that you did. So that gap, the space between what you expected to happen and what actually happened, that's where disappointment lives. So the normal path, what we normally do for most of us is when we get disappointed, it leads to upset and frustration, kind of like, well, why didn't they do X, Y, or Z? Or why didn't I do X, Y, Z? So these why questions at the time, they might feel productive, but honestly, they're not. They keep you stuck in the world of reaction and explanation and reasons and justifications. So, in other words, they reinforce and add mass to the story of why this didn't work instead of moving you into the actions of what's next. So, if you want to stay in the world of creation, the key isn't why, the key is what expectation did I create that wasn't met in this circumstance? So that question is very, very different than why didn't they do that? Or why didn't I see that sooner? Why didn't I know better? So the question, what expectation did I create that wasn't met, shifts the focus from blame or self criticism to clarity. It helps you identify the expectation that you had, whether you had stated it or didn't state it, because a lot of our expectations are unstated, they're assumed. And what was the expectation that led to the gap between what you wanted and what happened? So once you've pinpointed that expectation, you're immediately back in the driver's seat. From there, you can look at and choose whatever's missing, that thing that if it were present would lead to your desired outcome. Like, what action can I now take to ensure the desired outcome, or at least up the probability of the desired outcome? So I'll give you an example from one of my clients. Recently, she was deeply disappointed when her husband didn't join her and her kids at the school play. Now, she was upset, she was frustrated, and even her, like her inner dialogue, that little voice sounded like, he should want to come with us, he should want to spend as much time with us as possible, he should care about this as much as I do. Sound familiar? Some flavor of that in your life? So here's the key. She was able to recognize the shoulds that were running her reaction. He should want to go was her default expectation, but it wasn't one she had actually communicated. This is one of those unstated expectations. So using our methodology, she shifted her focus from why didn't he want to go? Like, what's wrong with him? Maybe there's something wrong with our family. Maybe there's something wrong with him. To what expectation did I create that wasn't met? And she realized that the expectation was hers. It wasn't like the truth that he should want to come to the school play. It was her expectation. And because it was hers, she had access to it. It became malleable, something she could work with and craft rather than being stuck with it and stuck in the world of frustration. So from there, she saw an action that she could take in the future, which she hadn't taken, which was make a clear request for the future. Instead of assuming that her husband would know her expectations, she could say, inside of our vision of connection for our family, I request that you join us at the next school play on Friday at 7 o'clock. So if you see the shift there, instead of living in the world of shoulds and reacting to the unmet expectations, she pivoted, she stepped into the world of creation, and she created a powerful request inside of her vision for their family. Why is this so powerful? Well, if you live in shoulds, you are doomed to be in constant reaction. Shoulds live in that world of reaction. They should have done that. I should have done this. Shoulds are rigid, they're fixed, and they're often inherited. Like you didn't even come up with a lot of your shoulds. They just sort of glommed on you. So they're like beliefs that we absorb by default rather than designing them intentionally. But when you pivot and step over to the world of creation, you become the author of your life. You start from a clean page, and the very next moment, you can take whatever action is going to fulfill on your vision. So now how do you put this into practice? It all sounds good, right? Until it comes, the rubber meets the road. So the next time you feel disappointed, here's a simple 3-step process to practice. The first step is to pause and notice the signal. When disappointment hits, resist the urge to react impulsively or reflexively. Instead, just pause and acknowledge, okay, I am feeling disappointment right now. I'm experiencing disappointment. And remember that disappointment is a signal, not the destination. Step 2, identify the gap. What is the gap? What expectation did I create that didn't get met by me or someone else? And just be honest. Did you communicate that expectation or was it just assumed? And then step 3, create what was missing. So once you've identified the expectation, ask yourself, okay, what's missing here? What action did I not take that I could take that would lead to my desired outcome? Maybe it's, make sure that you have a conversation about that thing. Maybe it's making a clear request. Whatever it is, this step of putting in what was missing puts you back in the driver's seat and allows you to take action. Disappointment, this is key, disappointment doesn't have to derail you. In fact, it can be one of the most powerful tools for growth and creation if you let it be. If you don't hang there and you stop there on your way to your destination, which is all about what you're creating in your vision. So when you shift your mindset from reaction to creation, you move beyond the shoulds and the why didn'ts, and you step into what's possible. You become the author of your life, and you can write a new story on a dime, in an instant. So my challenge for you this week is the next time you feel disappointed, and if you're not disappointed right now, don't worry, coming soon to a life near you will be disappointment. That's how life goes. The next time you feel disappointment, pause and ask yourself, what expectation did I create that wasn't met here? And use that clarity to create what's missing so that you can take a step forward rather than dwell in the whys and how comes and how bouts. All right. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Be Unmessable With, the podcast. And if you got value out of this episode, please rate the episode, review it. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe and share the episode with anybody that you know deals with disappointment and could use a way out of hell. All right. See you on the next episode of Be Unmessable With, the podcast. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Be Unmessable With the podcast. And I never take for granted that you spend time with me. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you a gift, as I usually do after every episode. And if you would like to learn how to hack your reactions and shift over to the world of creation in an instant, in a reliable step-by-step process, you can download my free hack system that will take you out of being stuck and put you right into action. Enjoy.